Today I'm going to paint an olive tree for you. We have a lot of them growing down here in the south of France, so I thought I'd do a little olive tree, and it's also a demonstration of a technique for doing a little tree. I am going to put it in a pot like a lot of other things, just because I like doing the pots. So here we go. There's the rim. I'm going to make it quite a big pot because it's got to take this little tree, little olive tree that would sit nicely on somebody's terrace. Let's give it a nice round shape instead of a straight one. In fact, we'll give it a couple of handles. A bit more of an urn shape than an ordinary plant pot. Right, let's make it look as if it can stand up. Soften that out. This is the Venetian red that I've used many times before. Soften that edge off and do a bit more work on that in a minute. Right, let's put the olive tree in. I'm going to start with a trunk, and this is going to be a sort of an ornamental one. Just take a bit of excess off my brush there, and I'm going to just put a few little branches in. This would be the sort that's in a nice little compact shape, perfect for a terrace or patio, or balcony even. So I'm just putting some of the little stumps in first, and as I'm going to be making this in the pot, let's take the rim all the way around, and what we'll do, so you can see the rim at the back of that pot, just take the colour down a bit more, and the soil will be in the bottom. We'll fiddle with that in a minute. Right, now the colour I've mixed for my leaves is, I started off with some white, and I've added some sap green and some Paynes grey, and I'm just literally going to blob some big areas. They're a sort of, it is an evergreen, they don't lose their leaves only through natural sort of shedding, but it's a sort of a greyy greeny colour. So I'm just going to put some blobs of colour in. I'll have to add some more branches and little twigs as we go. But a way of doing a tree, you know, you can either put your lumps of green on first, or you can start with the trunk and the branches, because quite often you don't have, unless it's a conifer, that's an evergreen, you don't have solid lumps of green. You can see through it from time to time. So that's what we want to create here. Now I'm going to put some sort of leaf shapes on the outside. In fact, I'm just going to use a little skinny brush. What's that, number 2? Just something a bit smaller, just to give me that, like they're the little ones coming out on the end, the ones that are in bud. Just add a bit of variety. Going back to that brush, add some more. looks a bit small for its pot, doesn't it? Probably have to make it a bit bigger. Keep it in proportion. And I don't actually have an olive tree on my terrace. I have a lemon tree, so I'll have to do a lemon tree for you soon. And just keep adding as you like. Yes, that's starting to look quite nice. Now let's make the trunk look a little bit more substantial. Look as if it can withstand a gust of wind. I've just added more white to the brownie mix because I think it needs it. Right, I'm going to have that little brush again because I'm going to give the idea that there were some little twiggy bits coming out of this stem, which you do. And this of course is lovely to go on to the finer bits where I want to add a few more twigs. Filling in some of the gaps. That's why we leave the gaps. So you can add to it later. Because it's the sort of tree where it is quite sparse in areas. It's not, you know, solid. So it's quite good just to, you can go in with these little twiggly bits. Because I know so many of you out there like getting this tiny brush and having a fiddle. This will please those people out there. Well, that's coming on rather nicely. Okay, now let's go back to this pot and see if we can zhuzh that up a bit. How am I going to do that? Good question. Okay, let's give it a bit of shadow. Oops, that's a bit too much shadow. Thin it out a bit. Like this way, I think, which means I want the shadow on the inside of the rim. A bit too dark. Let's lift some of that off a bit. And on the inside, in fact, let's make those a bit better. They were a bit of an afterthought. Make it look as if it is. Bit difficult perspective there, so we'll curve it that way. Hope they don't look too much like ears. In fact, let's just have a little bit of a... No, I'm not going to dabble with a design. I think that would be the road to ruin. Get a bit of shadow in there. Let's go back to the other brush. Right brush for the job, remember. If you're covering a big area, you want a big brush. Or a bigger brush than that tiddly tiddly one. Okay, that's fine. Let's put a shadow on that, a bit more down there, and let's just give it some ground. And a little bit of shadow under here because that will be a rim sort of arrangement. A bit more colour. A bit more colour down here because there's not much light getting to that, so that can take a bit more colour. Lose that. That's a fairly substantial pot. Right, now we need some soil in that pot. I'm leaving a highlight on the rim. Okay, so we've dug it in nicely. And now I'm going to go back to the leaves, because what I'm going to do now is darken that colour I mixed so that we can go in with a bit of shadow. Just letting it run in, because where you've got leaves underneath, they will be in shadow. Just letting it run. It's lovely when you see all the colours just merge together. This is one of the joys with painting in this way. It's just, well, it's just so much fun. I hope you think so. Right, okay. What else do we think? I'm wondering whether to put a few olives on it. Would that be fun? What do you reckon? Let's just put a bit of, just texture that a little bit. There we go. And thicken up, because that's quite thick, so it's got to go to a substantial, before it splits, it's got to look as if it's going to support some quite hefty branches. Yeah, that looks as if that's going to be okay. Right, olives or no olives? I don't know. Let me just tidy that up, because I don't want that bleed there particularly. So let's dry it off a bit. And then I can just go in with a darker line. Still fairly damp down there, so just sort of spread it out. It doesn't really matter. Not being over precious about it. So it's a warm-up exercise, a bit of fun. And I think I'm just going to add, I'm not going to put olives on, I've decided, but what I am going to do is put some more of these little leaves on, because I feel like just playing with it for a little bit. I've gone fairly symmetrical with the olive shape, because I'm viewing it as one that has been pruned for that purpose, to be a decorative rather than a producing olive tree. And I think we'll leave it at that. So I hope you've enjoyed that olive tree in a pot, and a simple way and an interesting way for you to do any other trees. I'll see you again soon, and don't forget to share it, like it, and if you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe to my channel. Thank you.